Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here, and I am here to do a fan request. And it was really funny because tomorrow, my movie reviewing schedule got all out of whack just because there's been so much stuff to watch and review and rank at the same time, because ranking really does take a lot of time. And if you guys saw those videos of us ranking, that was just like 10% of the time that we spent doing those rankings, and and we're still not even halfway done. And so I thought I should do this video instead, because tomorrow I was originally going to review a fan requested movie from the same fan who requested this list. And I thought, oh, I'll just replace that fan request with this fan request. And then I also forgot that I needed to watch American Horror Story Season 3 by Tuesday. And so I think that I'll have more time to do that from doing this video, which I cannot understand. I think it's because I wanted to review the whole Breaking Bad series first and then do this video, because it feels kind of like blowing your load too early type thing, where I'm kind of talking about the Breaking Bad seasons before I'm reviewing the seasons in the future. But I don't know when I'll do that, because after the last season of Better Call Kim, I really got turned off of Breaking Bad in general, even though it was really good. It's just I'm really not happy, and I'm not happy that everyone was just so like blindly into that last season, where it just completely ruined everything. It destroyed the characters. And then at the end, they were even trying to destroy the characters from Breaking Bad. And I thought, like, why would they do this? This is just, it's awful. I would say, out of all the TV shows I've ever watched, and keep in mind, I've seen a lot now. I gotta say, I really think the worst show I've ever seen is Broadchurch Season 3, which that was an agenda season, so you guys know how much I hate agendas. But Better Call Saul Season 6 is right there at number 2. Right there. And so that's how bad I hated that season. It was so horrible. It still pisses me off to this day, and I will never ever be over how bad that season was and how badly that show declined. And the worst thing about it was a predictable decline. That's why I was kind of hesitant about watching the show at first, because I knew, these guys are just going to do 5 or 6 seasons and then they're going to end it. And that's exactly what they did. And it's like, I just don't like investing my time in things that, end too early, with endings that are terrible. There was this other show that ended this year called Ozark. And I really liked the first season of that, but I didn't want to watch the rest of it because I saw that it ended at a measly 4 seasons. And I thought, like, ew. I want to watch a show that lasts. I don't want to watch a show that prematurely ejaculates. Okay, so these are all the seasons of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and Better Call Kim and the El Camino movie. So it's 14 things. And I will also be breaking this down in terms of tiers. So tier F, tier D, tier C, tier B. I think I said deer in one of those. And so in tier F, 14th place, the worst of the worst, Better Call Kim, Season 6B. this not only destroyed all the characters from the show, but somehow, after the first half of the season being so bad, somehow this fucking piece of shit show managed to disappoint me even more by just having these terrible cliches, like the villain talking so much that he gets distracted, and having Kim get off the show briefly, very briefly, because they have an obsession with her, and that's another thing I'll talk about. But the instance is just, she leaves. She just walks off, like she's almost walking off the show. Just so bizarre, so fucking sickening, and really it's all based around making Kim into this kind of victim so that she can have all these victim scenes where she cries and then she says wah wah wah, and then she apologizes to people, and it's just all organized around giving the actress Rhea Seehorn scenes to get an Emmy. Because when you want to win an Emmy, you want to have scenes where, like, you cry, you laugh, you want to show all the ranges of emotion. And it felt like, instead of trying to tell a good story, an intense story, I just can't believe, after all of this Breaking Bad universe, this is the shit that ends the universe. Like, this pathetic, amateur hour, shitty ass, like, fucking house heists with Gene and all that shit with, how they make him look like a rotting anus, and then they make Kim look like next year's top model. It's like, this is just clearly unequal. And you can see the favoritism, you can see the real life infatuation that they have with this actress just bled onto the show, where they made the whole show about her instead of making it about the story. And it really blows my mind how people could say that this is any good in any way, shape, or form. And really, in my opinion, it's mostly because it's made well. It's very technically well made, and the actors are all really good. And so people are kind of blinded by that, and they're like, this is really high quality, so that means it's good. It's kind of like when you hear, I'm trying to think of a good restaurant example. Like a good, like when you hear about a restaurant that you think that restaurant must have really good 5 out of 5 food, and then you finally go there after years and years and you try it and it's just so mediocre and so poor. That's what it's like. But you want to believe that it's good because it's from that place. And that happened with me with White Castle. For years I wanted to go there after seeing that Harold and Kumar movie. And finally, when we were on a road trip, they got it. And I still remember eating it, and I was watching this terrible alien found footage movie about like some alien at home or some ghost at home or something, and some demon, I don't know. And it was so gross, but I was like, oh, it's pretty good. That's what it kind of feels like. And so unfortunately, though, this season, the second half especially, it is piss poor. And just what they do to Jimmy, the main character of the series, you can tell that they don't like their main character, which makes no sense whatsoever. Because if not for Jimmy, I never would have watched the show. I never would have watched Better Call Saul. I wouldn't have watched Better Call Saul so that I could see Kim walking around with her ponytail flipping around and fucking making phone calls all day with sticking little post-it notes on the wall. Like, that's not why I wanted to watch Better Call Saul. I wanted to watch Better Call Saul to see a really, like, a nice, smart, like, sleazy sort of con artist turn into this, like, legal mastermind in the criminal underworld. And it just felt like there was so much more potential too, that, and they purposefully laid out all these Easter eggs too, that never got answered and never got fully delved into, so that, you know, you could kind of sit there and theorize. And just the fact that, and so that's going to lead into the next place. Number 13, still in the F tier, Better Call Saul Season 6A. This season, it started off like, okay, maybe this could be good, because they started off with maybe Kim being the villain. And of course, she really is the villain of the whole series, because once they recognized that the fans liked her, and once they started getting boners for the actress in real life, they just completely devoted the entire show to her rather than devote to writing a good story. This season, though, like, it's all built around building up to that last episode, plan and execution. That's what it's all about. The way that they get there is so unsatisfying. It just blows my mind how people could just say this is a masterpiece. And keep in mind, people were not fully, they were not bought into Better Call Saul when they were watching this first half with these terrible, boring filler episodes like Axe and Grind, fucking Black and Blue, where Howard literally tells Jimmy, fight me. It's like just, ugh. And it's like they could have done so much more. Like, they could have done so many better things, and instead they decided to do this weak storylines. Like, and the other thing is, you can feel the rushing. Like, it's almost like people who are just, like, really overly nice, and they're trying to get you out of somewhere, and they're just being so overly nice that it comes off as kind of creepy and rude. And that's what this is like. It's like they're not really taking deep dives into any stories because they want to rush you away. So, you know, instead of telling new stories, they're just going to tell the same old thing over and over and over again. You know, you see Jimmy doing something Kim doesn't approve of. And then they had this thing where Kim learns that Lalo is still alive. She doesn't tell Jimmy. That issue was never made into really an issue at all. Even though it's literally like I would say that's like, it might be one of the top 5 worst things anyone ever did on Better Call Saul history. And so it's really weird how that was just sort of brushed off. And then, as I was saying, they purposefully laid out these Easter eggs and these potential story ideas, like Kim being a villain. You know, they weren't going to fully commit to Kim being a villain because they're so infatuated with Rhea Seehorn that they wouldn't want her to be typecast as the villain from then on in things that she worked in. And they didn't want her character, after fans practically, I mean, it's pretty sickening how after all these seasons, instead of really celebrating Jimmy, all they did was tear him down and celebrate Kim, even though she's not the main character. And in fact, she's probably the worst out of the main characters in the whole show. Well, actually, she is. She's the worst character in Breaking Bad history. She is just so full of plot holes, literally and figuratively. I mean, she's got some holes. And and as the fan who requested this said, she's like a mystery box character, and the show is like a mystery box of in itself in this season. Because I remember the trailer, they leaned in on Nacho a lot, and I was really excited because I thought, I really like to see some hardcore, intense Mexican adventure, like in Mexico, in the Breaking Bad universe. Walter and Jesse never really got to do that very much. Well, Walter especially. And so I was really excited to see, okay, maybe Nacho is going to spend like a whole half season in Mexico and then he could get killed in the mid-season finale or something. But instead, they just, that trailer, they falsely advertised, they built your hopes up only to crush your dreams by killing him in episode 3. And that's just what the whole episode is. It's just the whole episode is we have to kill this character because we're rushing things to an end and we don't want to kill him. And that was the other creepy part too. I saw this behind the scenes video and they were like, we didn't want to kill Nacho. And it's like that sounds like what a serial killer would say to their victim. Like, I don't want to kill you, but I'm gonna have to. Like, that sounds like just so creepy and weird. And it just really fits into their character, though, in terms of, like, their terrible writing. Like, you can predict these terrible decisions if you're smart enough. But unfortunately, I was still hopeful that they would make a great show and kind of, like, surprise me. So I guess it really wouldn't have been a surprise. And then another thing that really pissed me off was, and speaking about the Easter eggs, they had this whole story about the book. They showed this book that Saul had where it was a list of criminal contacts, and they showed it at the very beginning of the season. And then they showed it again, and they showed that the vet guy had it and that he was going to sell it when he retired. And he was planning on retiring right then and there. And we never get to see how Jimmy gets that book, even though they dedicated all this time into purposefully showing you that. And then just even speaking about Jeff the cab driver, just the disappointment with him. Just season 6 of Better Call Kim, it is nothing but disappointing. I hate everything about it. I would never watch it again. And I would never watch probably season 5 again. I don't know. Like, maybe specific episodes I would rewatch, but really, really still pissed off. Number 12, still in the F tier, Better Call Saul Season 4. This is when Better Call Saul became Better Call Kim, because as soon as Chuck died, they needed someone to replace Chuck with. And so they thought, let's replace him with this fan favorite character, Kim, because then fans will be really happy to see more of the character that they really like. And it's like, I could have been happy with that if she wasn't such a bitch. If she wasn't such a complete, just, like she is just the ultimate, just, like she is so unlikable. And as the fan said, mystery box character. There's all these stories to empower her and to tear down Jimmy. And just the way that she treats Jimmy is just so sickening and just so, like, cruel and evil. I really hate the way that she treated him in this season. And, this season, they were really trying to be edgy. Breaking Bad didn't have to be edgy because you have people getting killed and you have people trafficking drugs that were hurting people. So you didn't need any, like, edgy, I'm a hardcore writer, so I'm going to write a dark story about a guy selling cell phones. Like, just, come on. Like, a cell phone selling? That's all you got? I will say, season 4 is not as bad as I remember. It does have a couple of really good things, really good moments with Jimmy. Even though they tried to make Jimmy at his worst in this season by starting to tear down his character and make him into just a despicable human in terms of they tried to. I still like Jimmy. Everyone with half a brain still liked Jimmy, and then everyone else started to hate him. But he had some of the best moments. Like, there was this one moment that I always reference where Howard says, I think that... And by the way, Howard is one of the most useless characters in history. The fact he was so good in season 1, and then they just... It was like they were pulling a random character out of a pencil case so that they could use him for easy sympathy points in season 6. And I knew that's exactly what they were going to do. I thought they're either going to have him get killed, or they're going to have him kill himself, or they're going to have him go crazy. And they did 2 out of the 3. So, and actually, if you look it up, they were planning on having him do a fake hit and run with the skateboarder twins, and so they wanted to have him do that too. I mean, just really stupid ideas, and it's like they're so limited. Look at how much creatively limited they are with how they're like, let's pull these random characters from past seasons and use them instead of coming up with new characters to do new storylines. Like, let's just do that, or let's pull those characters. The Kettlemans. Let's show the Kettlemans for the millionth time. Like, I bet when they make a Better Call Kim movie, because they will, I can guarantee you that they're going to have fucking the Kettlemans show up at the beginning, and they're going to be like, hey, and they're going to wave to the camera, and then it's just going to be really bad. It's going to be like, okay, why is this here? So with season 4, Howard saying, I think I killed Chuck. And then Jimmy's just like, Howard, that's your cross to bear. And he just walks away and he starts making coffee. And I just thought, God, what a badass. I wanted to go, just start clapping for Jimmy, because I thought, Jimmy, the way that he was in season 4, that's what I wanted to see more of. The whole show was about him turning from a human, a nice human who, he was on a good path. It was about turning him the wrong direction and making him go into this criminal underworld and become like a douchebag. But instead, after season 4, he just becomes, I don't even know what he becomes. He becomes like a simp to Kim. And so it all is centered around her, as I said. So, number 11, this is the D tier. El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. This movie, it's another movie where it feels like, number 1, it's kind of funny, because the people who created Breaking Bad, they have created this whole mantra of limiting your creativity by making TV shows that only last a certain amount of seasons so that you don't overstay your welcome. What's hilarious is that if they ended everything so perfectly, why did they have to make El Camino? They didn't have to at all. They either made it for the money, or they made it because they knew that they still had stories that they could tell, and they knew that, we probably could have gone on longer. And either way, it's trash. This movie is too little too late. There's barely any recognizable plot. It's basically just Jesse wanting to escape, and he's going to Alaska, and then there's some random thieves who are stealing money that he knows that, where it was hid. It's Walter's treasure money. Uh, this was just a really underwhelming movie. It was full of fan service, these cringy flashback fan service scenes. Like there's a scene with Walter and Jesse just eating breakfast. Completely unnecessary filler scene where and I just remembered another thing I could have complained about Better Call Kim season 6B, but I guess I won't. And then there was like some fan service flashbacks with him and Jane, and it's like, who cares about Jane? Like, he moved on from Jane and he started dating Andrea, and Andrea was the best love interest on the history of both shows. And so I didn't understand like why they just sort of pretend like Andrea doesn't exist. Like, it's basically all because Kristen Ritter played Jane, which just makes it even more shitty because, once again, you guys are seeing that the real life actress, you're seeing that they have like an infatuation with these actresses, and it overpowers their ability to tell stories without just being biased. Like, why should the actress who plays that character, why should that be influencing who they give a flashback to? I think that that's wrong. The only thing that I liked in El Camino, there were some good flashback scenes with Todd, even though he got really overweight, which, who cares? It's just in terms of he doesn't look like the character anymore. He doesn't look like him a lot, and so it is kind of jarring, but I did love those flashbacks. And there was a moment where Skinny Pete gave Jesse his hat, and I thought that that was a really good scene as well. So, number 10, now we're on to the C tier. So this season is a C. Breaking Bad Season 1. This season started it all, and unfortunately, it only has 7 episodes, so that's kind of weak. That kind of takes it down a notch. As well, really, the first episode where it's the pilot, and it's just a really fantastic pilot, it's a really fantastic story, that's really good. But then the rest of the season, you got soap opera drama with a little bit of drug stuff, and then there is some good stuff with Tuco near the end, but the finale doesn't really feel like a finale at all. It feels like, I don't know, like just the whole first season kind of feels weak. Like, it feels like, really? Like the second season is where it really picked up for me. And so the first season is just kind of average to me. Like, I don't really want to watch the first season ever again. I had to watch it once with someone else to rewatch it so that they could see it for the first time. And then I watched it again with Safi. I don't really want to watch it ever again. Like, I'd rather watch something else. So number 9 is Better Call Kim Season 5. Even though this is where the show was getting really trash, it did have some really great things still in it. When I rewatched it, I was surprised at, the great little ideas. Like this one episode where Nacho had to prove himself to Lalo, and he had to do all this stuff and all these crazy things, and it was really intense. It was really suspenseful, and just the thing that I loved most about the season, though, was Jimmy. Not Jimmy himself, but what he did in this season, helping this old man keep his house against Kim. And he went up against Kim, and it was amazing. And I was so happy that he stood his ground and he didn't just give up so that Kim could feel safe at her little cushy corporate job. I was really happy that he went up against her. And then finally, this one word will tell you all that you need to know about season 5 being amazing. Bagman. Okay? I don't even need to say anything else. Bagman. However, the reason why this season is still in the C tier is because of the finale. The finale is terrible. It is a complete and utter piece of trash, disappointment, and the worst moment probably of the whole series, well, one of the top 10 worst moments for sure, is Kim giving the finger guns at the end of the season. And it's to symbolize that she broke bad. And I just thought, this is the queerest shit I've ever seen. Like, like, like she gives him the finger guns. It was, you know what it reminded me of? You know that really shitty Saints Row game that I played? The woke Saints Row? It was like when you picked out a character and you customized your character in that shitty ass game, and you picked out the emotion that they would do, the emote, where they'd have all the different animations. That's what it felt like. It was really bizarre and cringeworthy. Probably one of the most cringeworthy moments in TV history. Number 8, now we're in the A category. So I know we jumped all the way to the A category. That should tell you how good the rest of the stuff is in comparison to the other stuff I've talked about. Number 8 is Breaking Bad Season 4. This season is very much like the X-Files Season 4, where I feel like even though it has some really good highlight moments in it, it's really not worth the inconsistency of the overall season. I will say I really loved some stuff in this season. I loved how Skylar wasn't such a bitch anymore, and I loved how she was kind of turning into this like crime wife where it was like Bonnie and Clyde kinda, and the way that she was helping him launder the money. And I love that whole dinner thing with the cards, the gambling, where they made up this story that Walter had a gambling problem, and then his little interactions with Hank. I really loved how they were getting intense, and I loved how these characters, they're enemies, but they don't even know it. And it's just so cool to watch that, and it's just classic Hitchcockian suspense. And then, of course, you have amazing moments, like I believe the moment where Walter drives Hank into like an oncoming car so that he doesn't investigate the laundromat. Like, that was such an intense, scary moment. And then, of course, Walter defeating Gus in the most coolest way possible, and that whole finale was just awesome. However, this season has a lot of dead air. It has a lot of stuff in it that I feel like, was it really worth all this stuff being shown? See, this is where it all kind of starts, it stems from, is that when they want to end things, when they want to, start going away, they purposefully sort of just tell the same kind of stories over and over without telling any new ones. And so in season 4, a lot of it was just Jesse sitting around partying and just these boring stories where he's not really engaged into the plot because he's depressed, obviously, because he did something really horrible for Walter, but still, it just felt like, why do we as an audience have to suffer through this average, sort of mediocre entertainment, when we could watch like season 3, for example, or season 2, or season 5, much more stuff going on in that season. Number 7 is Better Call Saul season 3. This season, it's got a lot of great stuff in it. It's got a couple of weak things. This is very similar to season 6, believe it or not, because the first half really is just all about building up to chicanery. And you have to ask yourself, was the chicanery episode worth those other episodes not being completely 100% fire? Well, I personally think no. I don't think so. I would have preferred 5 great episodes rather than 4 mediocre episodes and 1 fantastic episode. And so, but then after chicanery, I really didn't like how Chuck kind of dropped off the plot with Jimmy. I wanted to see more interaction between them. I wanted them to have more hero-villain antagonism. I wanted them to go back and forth. That's why season 2 was a Better Call Saul was so good, is because they were teasing that back and forth. They were showing you, these are two opposites. You have two opposite forces, and in season 3, they're going to go against each other. And then in season 3, they don't really go against each other very much. But still, there is some incredible storytelling in this season. The story with Saul, Jimmy, with him conning Irene and making her lose all of her friends is really, really dark. And I really wanted the show to keep on going dark like that, rather than pussy out and just devote it all to Kim. And so I really love that storyline. I really loved the storyline with Chuck, regardless, with him trying to cure himself and then it fails. And it's pretty much the only time you ever feel bad for Chuck is when he loses his mind. And you just feel like, it's really terrible that he not only created Jimmy, he created Saul. That's the irony of his character, is that he created Saul Goodman. He didn't he didn't successfully help get rid of Saul. No, he created Saul. But then in the end too, as well, his life was totally on the wrong path. And so it's kind of showing that path that Chuck went on, this ultra traditional, by the book path, it was showing you that was a bad path as well. And that, maybe Jimmy's path is better, where he's kind of going off book and he's doing some things that Chuck wouldn't do, and he's a lot more compassionate than Chuck, and he's a lot more human than Chuck. And so I really love that, especially probably, and this is why I wanted more interaction between them, is because my favorite moment in season 3 is when Chuck and Jimmy talk for the last time. It's such a powerful scene. It's such a dark scene. It's such a perfect interaction between characters. That's what we could have gotten the whole season. Number 6 is Breaking Bad season 2. I haven't seen this in a long time, but just looking at the fucking season back, I'm just, it's such a good feeling seeing this show and seeing these episodes that I remember, that one was good, that one was good, that one was good. you start off where it kind of feels like a season finale of season 1, where they end up killing Tuco. And then, well, of course, Hank kills him. But, that whole episode going up against Tuco, perfection, complete perfection. And it gets pretty dark. I mean, the storyline with the... I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. It's the fucking the ATM machine store. That was a really good story that happened in this. It just, everything is escalating. And the thing that I loved about Breaking Bad was it felt like in every season things were escalating to a different level. And they would get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Bigger stakes, bigger villains, scarier villains. And then, of course, this is when Saul comes in. And that was another grade A character. He was such a great character idea. He was the best character in the whole show. He was better than Walter himself. He was so good. He was so smart, and he would help get them out of any situation, basically. And then, of course, they had the episode where they're out in the middle of nowhere cooking, and they thought that would be a good idea, and it turns out to be probably one of the worst ideas they ever had. And then, of course, the best thing about season 2, to me, is that Walter is sort of the villain of this season. At the end of the season, he lets Jane die. And then he therefore causes the plane crashing thing. And so it's pretty interesting because even though Gus enters the scene at the end of the season, Walter is really the main villain. He really is the main villain. He's causing everyone around him problems. He's causing everyone around him misery and pain eventually. And so I really love the fact that this season is sort of different from the rest, where he's the primary villain, which is... It's pretty tough because it's like, how do you resolve a story where the main character is the main villain? So number 5 is Breaking Bad Season 5B. Now I know people are going to complain that this was ranked too low. Well, I would say it just... People leaked stories that were better than the stories they told. There were people who leaked these stories where they said that Walter's whole family was going to die. They said all these interesting, weird things were going to happen. And I felt like I was really excited to see that. And instead, we got this kind of... It just felt like it was kind of playing it safe with the whole storyline where Jesse turns sides. And it just... And in particular, it was good. Don't get me wrong, but there were a couple of episodes that just felt fun, that like they fell flat. Like Buried was a very mediocre episode. Confessions, that was a very mediocre episode. Rabid Dog, that was a very mediocre trash episode. And so it's another thing where you have to question, are those episodes being flat and kind of dull? Is that worth Tahajali, Ozymandias, Granite State, and Felina? And it just, in general, I was disappointed because after they defeated Gus, it didn't really feel like the time for them to just fall off and quit. It felt like the time that the writers just wanted to fall off and quit. And so that kind of feeling bled into the show. However, I will commend the second half of the season. I'm still giving it an A, obviously, because the acting is so incredible. There are some really intense moments. There are some really great ideas. I really loved the encounter in Tahajali and Ozymandias, where, of course, Walter calls the Nazis to come over to kill Hank. That was such an incredible. That was perfect. That was perfection. I mean, there's nothing to complain about with that whatsoever. And then the thing with Walter basically framing himself as the only bad guy, and making it so that Skylar, she doesn't have any faults. She doesn't have anything to be blamed for. I really love that. And then I loved in Felina. I loved how he basically he tied up every single loose end possible. And then he killed all the bad guys. He saved Jesse. I mean, it was so cool that, like, after all this bad stuff that he did, and, you know, he's still a piece of shit, but after all this bad stuff that he did, he was still able to redeem himself in the end, before he died himself. So I would say overall, the second half of the last season was really, really good. It's just unfortunate it couldn't have been a little bit better, in my opinion. Like, even the creators admitted they didn't even have any idea of, like, if what they were doing was the best thing. Like, they said originally they wanted to kill everyone but Walter. Like a weird kind of irony where everyone but him would die. And they said they wanted to have another story about a prison breakout with Jesse. And I thought, like, those stories could have been good as well. So, number 4 is Breaking Bad Season 3. This season, I would say it's probably the darkest season. They introduced the twins who are, of course, the scariest villains of the whole show. This is also the season where they have to destroy the RV, and you have that whole incredible interaction between Hank and them, where, of course, he gets called to the hospital as a distraction, and then they destroy it, and then Hank goes crazy. That was just so perfect. That was just, so good. And then, of course, you have the most controversial episode of Breaking Bad, which is Fly. And the thing that I really like about Fly is that even though it is kind of stupid, it is really cool, because if they just had 10 episodes like Better Call Saul, they wouldn't have been able to have Fly. You know, they wouldn't have been able to have the creative freedom to do that. And so it's just a demonstration that if they had more episodes, they could have done more. And so that's what I really liked about the episode. And then I love the whole plot. I really think that this is the best story of the series. The way that the structure of the plot, the way that everything escalates. You know, I'm just looking, and this season deserves to be in the S tier, okay? I changed my mind, because it's just perfect. Like, the way that everything escalates, it's so consistently good compared to other seasons where it's really inconsistent. And then, of course, you have in the finale, I would say the darkest thing that ever happens, where Jesse has to basically kill an innocent person, and that was just really, really hard to watch. And it felt like, you felt really bad even watching it, because you felt like you were kind of associated with doing it. And so, number 3, this is in the S tier as well, Better Call Saul Season 1. Now this season, the reason why I love it is because this character, his series could have failed. They were gonna make it a joke. They were gonna make it a comedy show, and instead they decided to take it seriously. And the way that this character, he is a perfect character, and he is a completely different character from Saul too. And so the fact that they were able to take this actor and this character and make up a whole new character, and still people would love to see him, is just really a statement on how good they can write if they try. And so but that's not the only thing. They also give him the perfect villain in Chuck, his own brother. And I really love that whole story. The Chuck story is really the highlight of Better Call Saul. It's really the reason to watch the show, because they're opposites. When you have a character, you have a protagonist. You need to have an antagonist who's, completely the opposite. And that's exactly what he is. Not only that, but this season, the thing that screams out to me is potential. You saw nothing but potential this season. It felt like it almost felt like a whole new universe. Like a universe where there was this comedy, not only darkness, but there was some comedy as well. Breaking Bad was very heavy. It was very much like eating a burnt cookie, a burnt chocolate chip cookie, which is really good, but it's really heavy. Whereas Better Call Saul was like a nice home-style gingerbread cookie. And just gingerbread cookies, you can have them every year forever. And it's the same thing with this, where I felt like, they really could have done a lot more. And they really wasted the potential that they had. Still, season 1 was a great start. Number 2, still in the S tier, because there's no other tiers left, is Better Call Saul Season 2. This just took everything from the first season and made it better. Not only that, but it did something extremely impressive that I've never seen another show replicate perfectly. They had all the characters' stories parallel each other, to where they were all sort of going through the same types of issues at the same time. And so it felt like a group effort rather than just one person and one story. And it was so incredible the way that, in Breaking Bad, they were all different stories. All the characters went down different paths. But in Better Call Saul, in this season 2, it was really weird because they all paralleled each other in this really satisfying way, to where the finale was just like the ultimate satisfying finale, in my opinion. Number 1, the best show, the best season, is Better Call Saul Season 5A. This season, this almost felt like the secret ending that we weren't supposed to get. Like when you are at the end of a video game and you defeat the villain, and then you get the afterwards, you get like an after credits scene. This first half, ironically, since they wanted to end, it felt like a reminder that no, there's still a lot they could do. And there's still this whole universe that they haven't explored. And just the way that things go this season in terms of... I really loved how dark it was. And I loved how Walter killed Mike. That was a really dark, great story. I loved it when they killed the kid on accident. And that was really great, dark story. And then, of course, with the kid comes the train heist. The train heist is a highlight of the series. But the best episode, the episode that I feel like, and by the way, another thing about this season is that Skylar really starts to actually become a likable character. And it seems like she is the perfect, her and Walter are the perfect couple. And so I really like that as well. But the best episode is Gliding Overall. The fact that, he decides to quit, the fact that after he's done all this stuff, it's like, oh, he's finally going to quit. He's finally, it's really kind of like, for him, too little, too late. And you kind of wish that he can get this happy ending with Skylar. And then, of course, the thing that he does where he kills all the people in prison, has all the people killed in prison, that was a really fantastic. It's been compared to The Godfather. I would agree. And then, of course, the highlight is when, at the end of the episode, Hank finally finds out. In just the most funny, weird way possible. And when that scene happened, I'm pretty sure that all the people who watched the show, I think everyone just felt like the same, like, jaw-dropping, oh shit reaction to, like, uh-oh. Stuff is going to get really, really dark from here. It's going to get really messy. It's going to get really bad. And just this episode was just, it was an A+++. The stuff that people feel about Ozymandias, that's what I feel about Gliding Overall. I really love, too, that this Walter character, Jimmy in Better Call Kim, he basically didn't redeem himself. Well, he never redeemed himself because he never did anything wrong at all to redeem himself from. He never redeemed himself until like the last 10 minutes of the series finale, whereas Walter started redeeming himself halfway through the 5th season by saying, I quit. I'm not going to do any more. I'm done. I want to be with Skylar. And so I really love that. I thought that was perfect, and I thought that, even though it did feel like it was going to rush to an end, it did feel like it was organic for the character, and so I only wish that after that it would have been more, I don't know, I feel like the first half of season 5 was so good that the second half was already going to have trouble living up to it. So anyways, that's about it for me. Please like this video, comment, tell me your rankings, and then subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more fan request videos. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.